Being a founder or a small business owner can be really challenging. And the things that keep you moving and motivated are wins. The challenge is you have to have momentum to get those wins. So let's just think about from a momentum perspective. Let's use a sports analogy. We both like sports, right? How many different teams have won Super Bowls by throwing it short? 49ers, Patriots. Tons of teams have won the World Series by getting singles and doubles. Sure, the home run and the long passes are really fun, but the reality is they're harder to make connect. And if you're waiting around for the long bomb, there's a really good chance that you're going to struggle to win, or you're going to lose your own momentum. Let's talk a little bit about what that means when it comes to a small or medium-sized business owner or a founder, and how they can make sure that they have that momentum and don't lose their drive to be successful. Have you seen anything where this has been a challenge?
I worked with a SaaS company.
Okay.
They were in fintech, great product, and a very charismatic founder who was very involved. When I joined them, we had a few clients who were happy with the product, happy with the team, but there was always this drive to get the big client, to get the 100-seat software license scenario. With that, we had success in one industry, and then we had just by happenstance gotten more of a generic SMB client. The thought was, oh, hey, if we can get one in the SMB space, we can get many. The temptation was in that scenario, hey, there's a lot of them. We can tap into them. Let's go. Mm-hmm. So at the time, we didn't have a big budget for marketing and sales. Arm behind my back, we put together a campaign to go after SMBs. It was a scenario where we spent the money with an agency. We worked it out. We even decided who we were going to try to go after. It was a lot, but it was a little bit of a boil the ocean scenario. A lot of enthusiasm and excitement, from the founder, which is always good to have. Mm-hmm. But it was in their mind, once we turn it on, we're going to get the sales team over the weekend coming in, answering all the calls. We had no calls. When you go after an industry like SMB, which is not actually an industry, it could be anything, you can't really tailor your messaging. Your messaging is just so generic, right? You have to go out after very high level, very generic benefits of what you do, nothing too specific. So of course the message isn't gonna, relate as much. So once we had that fail, and once we had a, more of a marketing and strategy conversation, what we decided to do was look at the industry we were in and then put some very formal strategy and messaging around that. So that became our 1A. On more of a roadmap side, on more of a what's next side, we decided to find an adjacent industry. And these were not big industries. They're more niche industries, and go after them. But not only was it so much easier to create the right messaging, talking to our existing clients, hey, why do you like us? What works for you with this product? We talk about recommending. Why would you recommend it to someone else? Nothing too crazy, but we found those talking points and we found the industry, and you're able to easily go find potential prospects. We went out with fast acting campaigns where we were constantly just changing that messaging, and we grew. And we grew and we grew, and I left a few years ago, but most of the clients are still in those industries, even though the company's growing. The big target sounds amazing. Unless you have those small wins, it's really hard to get there. And the casualty in going after something too big too is team morale. You could just see the morale from the founder, from the sales team, everybody drop when we wanted to go after the big fish right out of the gates.
It's an all or nothing play versus a whole bunch of small wins play. You could think of it this like, I own several houses that I rent, or I own an apartment complex. If I only own one house that I rent and nobody's in it, I'm making zero. But if I own an apartment complex with 50 units and one is gone, I'm still at 99% occupancy. This is a really big problem that happens with founders a lot. They see what they've got and they go, Microsoft. This is perfect for Microsoft.
Right.
And then they go all in on Microsoft. Maybe they win, maybe they don't. The probability is they don't win soon. Sales cycles can kill businesses. If you have a 3-month sales cycle and you win a whole bunch of things every 3 months, you're doing really well. But if you have a 2-year sales cycle because you're working with big businesses, you might go bankrupt or lose morale before that actually happens. We talk a lot about testing and iterating. And let's talk about that from a marketing perspective. If I'm going to test and iterate and try things out and see what works so that I can lean into what works, how would I do that in marketing?
There's good news. Gone are the days of the Mad Men where you have a specific campaign and it's all set in stone and never changes, right? And the beauty of digital, as we both know, constant change and the ability to test and learn is so important. I would say any marketing, especially for a company that doesn't have big agencies and big money, but even those big ones, the Cokes of the world, they may have large agencies running their fall campaign. But guess what? On the digital side, they are iterating and changing messaging on the fly, seeing what resonates, what doesn't. It used to be, even on the digital side, where you would come up with, okay, we're going to have message A, B, C, and we're going to fire them on these channels at these times. And then if A is performing better than B and C, it it defaults to A.
Yeah.
And the system's smart enough to know that. A couple years ago, AI and machine learning came in the mix. So now it's not A, B, C. It's here's a bucket of 10 messages. Here's a bucket of 10 creative pieces. Here's a bucket of 10 offers. And it could be more or less. And then you just put those all into the machine and it starts testing and learning and testing and learning. It gets to the point where once everything's in the machine and AI is in control, you, EJ, may get offer 1, creative piece 3, and message 9. I may get different numbers, but it's smart enough to know and learn what my propensities have been, what yours have been. And so I think a lot of it, the name of the game in marketing is test, learn, and do it fast.
100% agree. What you described is actually the new world of Meta or Facebook. They want you to bring in lots of content and then they test it and then they decide based on engagement which works best so they can hone in and help you be successful.
And it's which works best, but which works best for you versus me.
Correct.
And we're similar, but if it's an elderly woman or a young teenager, they're going to get different messages.
And that's a big key here. What I see a lot with people, they tend to lean in and place massive bets on something they think is perfect. And often they're wrong, probably way more often than not.
Especially if they're a founder and they're close to it.
What's more important, especially today, is that you're just testing little things. So let's just use it from a social media perspective. If you think you have this idea that will connect with your consumers, do something raw, put it out there and see what the data says. Then make it a little bit better and keep iterating on it. Iteration is key. If you don't iterate, you're probably just not going to succeed generally.
And part of it is there is so much noise out there now that you need to put feelers out enough times to understand what's going on. I would say social media can be a great place to test messages because it's free. See what's resonating with people at no cost before you get that TV spot or you take out a print ad somewhere that has a little more cost.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And you can actually see without even putting stuff out there what is resonating with consumers.
Yeah, and I will jump in here and just a plug for marketing people and a piece of advice for all founders and business people. I think a lot of times founders will come from more of a finance, maybe sales standpoint, operations. Maybe unfairly, they think marketers should know exactly what should be said to who, when, where, why. That's impossible. So if any marketer agency comes to you and has the answer, I would run from them. I would look at the processes they have and their past wins. Anybody who's going to do marketing well now is going to do their research, figure out what they think is best, and then run, iterate, and repeat, and it never stops. You're always iterating, you're always changing.
So if we dial it just back to what's the whole purpose of this piece of the module, it's all about finding those small wins. You need to define what that win looks like for you. Do you need to get more likes? Do you need to have more phone calls? Do you need to have people respond to emails? Do they just need to look and click on a link? Find those wins that you're going after, define them, and define what success actually looks like, and then build from there. If you see that something's working, don't change a million things, change one thing.
Right.
Because if you change a million things, you just started your test over. You need to go out and find those small wins. That can be the type of marketing you're doing, the messaging you're doing, the target audience, the customer you're going after, all of it. Just think about it from your perspective and what makes it so it will work for you and your business, and then build from there. Because there's not a right way or a wrong way to do this. There's probably more of a wrong way than a right way, but it's going to work based on what your business is doing and what works for you and your industry. Build off of that. Otherwise, you're probably going to place a bet on 00 and spin the roulette wheel and hope that it's right. The probability is it's not.
The dirty little secret too is on the corporate side, I've worked where we've hired Bain and McKinsey and some of these big consulting firms. And I feel like a lot of times the leaders think we haven't solved it ourselves internally, so they're going to have the magic bullet, the magic answer, that one thing. They come in, they interview everybody, and they basically synthesize what everybody already knows. And then on a marketing side, they're going to do what are called sprints. Where they're taking what the marketing team and others have told them, and then they're putting together tests, 2-week tests, 6-week tests, and then they're dropping what doesn't work and doubling down on what does work.
We don't all need consultants anymore today because you got AI. Go through those sprints as your own organization. Just don't spend 50 or 100 grand or millions of dollars, and find what's going to work for you. But you've got to find singles and doubles. You just need to find the connection that is going to keep you motivated, keep your team motivated, and keep the bank account moving so that you don't go out of business.